Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the marketplace. Coming up this afternoon, Ghana ranks 5th in Africa with highest offshore oil rig demand, indicating significant oil and natural gas reserves. Also coming up, National Petroleum Authority to enforce downstream petroleum industry regulations to ensure adherence to standards. Violators could face a maximum of 15 years in jail.
If you engage in any activity in the downstream industry, it means you are violating the provisions of the MPA Act, and that you will be prosecuted for it.
Also coming up, 2024 budget document to be consistent with agreed IMF fiscal framework as government seeks to pursue programs aimed at growing economy and reducing debt stock. My name is Daryl. Kwawu. Thanks for being with us. Details coming up. Well, first up, the African Development Bank says it expects government to remain committed to the reforms in its budget statement to address the current economic challenges. This comes after the bank signed a $102 million budget support deal with the Finance Ministry. According to country manager for the African Development Bank, Jerusalem Fasika, the bank will continue to partner government in various sectors to ensure stability.
Honorable Deputy Minister, currently the bank's group active country portfolio consists of about 20 operations. We have 15 public sector operations and 5 private sector operations, with a total commitment of about $726 million across various sectors. Transport accounts for the largest, followed by agriculture sector. The portfolio also involves projects in economic governance, energy sector, water and sanitation, and human capital development. These ongoing projects, in addition to the budget support program we are signing today, would support government's recovery and development efforts and contribute to the bank's high five dimensions in Ghana. So we will light up and power Ghana, feed Ghana, industrialize Ghana, integrate Ghana, and improve the quality of the life of Ghanaians. Honorable Deputy Minister, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are confident that the government will remain committed to the reforms identified in the program as to take full advantage of it to address the current difficult economic conditions faced by the country. In conclusion, allow me, Honorable Deputy Minister, to seize this opportunity to reaffirm the commitment and the availability of the African Development Bank Group once again in supporting the efforts of the government and the people of Ghana in addressing the country's recovery efforts and development.
In the meantime, the 2024 budget will be in line with the fiscal program and measures that government has agreed with the IMF. Here's George Jaffe with more on what he's picking up.
The development could mean that the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, may come up with programs aimed at mobilizing more revenue whilst improving public efficiency in spending. However, it is not clear for now what mobilization of more revenue would actually mean. That is, whether the Finance Minister will be focusing on efficiency in collections or reviewing the tax rates. The Minister will also be pursuing initiatives that will bring the debt stock in line with what government has agreed with the IMF so that it will reach that sustainable level by 2028. The budget will also look at how to address some of the weaknesses in the energy sector. Financial stability will also be a critical area for government going into next year, as the Minister will announce some fresh measures to help bring inflation down with support from the Bank of Ghana. Joy Business understands that some final touches are being put to the document, with the necessary briefings taking place at the economic management team level. And later, there will be an engagement at Cabinet before the actual presentation next week. But for many, they'll be looking out for how government will be planning to contain expenditure, especially in an election year.
Well, the budget presentation is 5 days away, and ahead of that, Joy Business will be holding a forum to discuss the budget ahead of that presentation by the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. It will be on the theme, the 2024 budget, maintaining a tight fiscal policy and a business-friendly environment in an election year. And so, as you see in your shots, those are going to be the speakers for that discussion. Professor John Gachi, Dean of the School of Business, University of Cape Coast; Dr. Ejapoma Jekedako, economist and senior lecturer, University of Ghana Business School; Dr. Humphrey Mdake, President, Association of Ghana Industries; Joseph Obeng, President, Ghana Union of Traders Association; Mark Bedua-Boaji, who is the Chief Executive of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry; and then Seth Tekbe, who is a former finance minister. That's happening on Monday, the 13th of November. The time will be 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. It will be live on your Joy News channel, so do make a date. So while we speak about the budget, founder of the Accra Business School, Bishop Gideon Titi Ofer, is making a strong case for government to be heavy on investment for women SMEs. A report by the World Bank indicates women-led SMEs constitute about 50% of all small and medium enterprises in the country, a figure that underscores their economic importance. He says government's quest to support the private sector in the 2024 budget should have policies to support these women-led SMEs. Bishop Titi Ofer spoke to Joy Business after a press briefing on Ladies in Leadership Awards.
Well, access to finance is a very difficult thing for every business in this country. It's not exclusively difficult just for women, but also for other people doing other businesses. And our recent conditions in the country has even worsened having access to finance. Even if you get access to finance, it's quite very expensive. The first way to tackle it is to look at how our economy can grow. I think that government should come out with policies that can support women in this sector. And I mean, government has no business in business, but government has a say in business. And one way in which government's voice can be heard in business is to be able to provide financial support for women who are braving the storm and are initiating entrepreneurial ventures and creating jobs, increasing incomes, and reducing poverty. These women need to be helped. Or Lila, as we call it, Ladies in Leadership Awards. Lila is going to run every year, recognizing women from various fields of endeavor, putting them at the forefront of business and equipping them to continue to lead. There are a number of women across various fields who are doing very well across Africa, but they are not celebrated.
Turning away from that to some energy matters, Ghana is ranked 5th in Africa with the highest offshore oil rig demand, indicating significant oil and natural gas reserves. That's according to the 2024 State of African Energy by the African Energy Chamber. The country overtook Libya to take the 5th position. Here's more in this report.
An offshore rig demand is made of oil reserves, contingent resources, and exploration. It is a large structure all in water, with facilities to drill wells, extract and process oil and natural gas. According to the African Chamber, Ghana's offshore rig demand shot up over that of 2022. This shows that the nation has some significant oil and natural gas reserves. The report also stressed that Ghana and 4 other African countries run off the top 5 countries with the highest percentage of contingent resources. This implies that rig demand in this particular area is sensitive to expected investment decisions. Ghana presently holds about 660 million barrels of proven oil reserves. Breaking down cumulative offshore rig demand from 2020 to 2030 per country reveals Egypt as the most active country with about 123 rig years, followed by Angola and Nigeria. Meanwhile, the number of wells drilled on the African continent is estimated to increase to 967 in 2023, a 6% year-on-year growth.
Now, the National Petroleum Authority has said enforcement of the EI 378 is expected to start by the end of the first quarter of next year, after the sensitization drive to ensure adherence to laid down standards in the downstream petroleum activities. Speaking at a media engagement in Sunyani, the legal manager at the Legal Directorate of the MPA, Farida Ali Musa, said violators of the MPA Act could face a maximum of 15 years in jail. Precious Semevo has more.
The National Petroleum Authority's media engagement in Sunyani helped to explain some operational issues of the authority in the Bono East and Ahafo regions. Despite the authority's improved operational and safety standards at the retail outlet, among other successes, illegal importation of petroleum products along border towns like Doma, Drobo and Sampa, and the illegal resale of fuel on tabletops remains a challenge that requires the assistance of the security agencies to help curb. Regional Manager Kwawu Odano said that Tebubu, Pro and Sene districts remain prone to attacks and appealed to the security to step up efforts to make their inspections easy.
The way we can freely inspect stations in Sunyani, wake up anytime and go to any station, we cannot do so on that route. We would have wished that that route was free from armed robbery attacks, but that notwithstanding, we continue to carry out our mandate. Every man we go there. We are thankful to the Atebubu Police. They've been giving us support, and we will continue to rely on them. But certainly when they also have logistics challenge, it may also affect the frequency to which we can go into that region. So we will only appeal that they will step up security efforts to rip off that area and make it free.
Legal manager at NPA, Farida Ali Musa, said having been granted prosecutorial powers by the AG, they are determined to ensure the laws regulating the downstream petroleum activities are adhered to, hence the enforcement of the instrument next year.
So if you engage in any activity in the downstream industry, it means you are violating the provisions of the MPA Act, and that you will be prosecuted for it. Aside that, we have where people also interfere in the activities of the officers when they go to the filling stations or the LPGMC stations to conduct their official duties. If you are found guilty of such an offense, you can be behind bars for, the minimum imprisonment is 2 years, and then some of them, their maximum is 10 years, 15 years. We want to look at, find a way to clear all the backlogs or clear all hurdles before us so that we can start the prosecution.
Precious Semevo, Joy Business, Sunyani.
Now, Chief Executive of the National Petroleum Authority, Dr. Mustafa Abdul Hamid, has urged the public to embrace the cylinder recirculation model to ensure safety and increase access to LPG to 50% by 2030. He says the policy would ensure the existence of robust standards as well as safety and environmental practices in the production, marketing and consumption of LPG. Dr. Abdul Hamid made the call at the launch of the Consumer Week celebration in Takoradi in the Western region.
Consumer Week celebration is observed each year by the National Petroleum Authority as part of the Global Consumer Service Week celebration to educate the people on their rights and responsibilities and how to safely use petroleum products. The NPA boss said LPG is a cleaner burning fuel that provides smoke-free indoor cooking and helps to reduce outdoor and urban air pollution. Unfortunately, Dr. Abdul Hamid said LPG uptake in the country was low, currently around 37%, and needed to be actively promoted.
Waton fuel amount. Odi tu uko 100 meters, 500 meters. Okano ejina. And was nientia uto fuela. Say uka engine. sɛ sɛ fa wo ho deɛ ɛna ɛwɔ so wobisa adwuma bɛn ɛna MPA-foɔ ɛyɛ wɔ kurom ha nti a ne koto fuel a ne car engine sɛ yɛ sɛ woyɛ ne saa a wɔn a aban etua wɔn ka sɛ ɔmo mmra MPA na ɔmo mbɛhwɛ petrol ho nsɛm ne diesel ne LPG ho nsɛm nka no ɔmo bɛtena ase ayɛ wɔn adwuma yie. But if you have a disinterested citizenship, then you give politicians the opportunity to do what they want.
Deputy Minister of Energy Andrew Ejapamesa said the timing of the promotional and sensitization drive was significant given the current debate about climate change with its associated environmental and health effects.
Since the launch of the program in September 2022, 20,000 LPG cook stoves and related accessories have already been distributed to households across 9 MMDAs, thus incentivizing them to switch to the use of LPG. The timing of this promotional and sensitization drive is significant, given the current discussions on climate change with its associated environmental and health effects. Climate change places a greater responsibility on countries to adapt and adopt more environmentally sound practices to save the environment from further deterioration.
He said Ghana needs to play a leading role in discouraging any activities that hurts the environment.
It is therefore crucial for Ghana to play a leading role in discouraging any activity that has an adverse effect on the environment, and the Ministry of Energy stands ready to support the NPA and other allied institutions in this endeavor for our collective good. Currently, the world is shifting towards transitioning energy supplies from fossil fuels to renewables due to climate change concerns.
Western Regional Minister Dr. Kobna Otrida Comensa urged the public to avoid complacency.
Like we understand, when you use wood, your eyes have problems, will have problems. When you use charcoal, you might have respiratory problems. And what we are saying is that the cost of losing your eye is far bigger than the cost of buying gas. So that's where you have to do the equation and balance. If you like your eyesight to go or you have respiratory problems, instead of buying gas, which will save you from all these elements. So that's where the comparison has to come in. That's where the decision has to be taken properly to make sure that you make the right choice. Because without good health, you cannot enjoy life. Yes, and money is not everything.
For Joy Business, in Athalia Kwansa, Western Region.
Now, the United Nations says there is an urgent need for African countries, including Ghana, to fix its energy crisis by transitioning to a lower carbon future. Under the Just Transition Initiative, countries are expected to devise a framework that will harmonize the demands of environmental sustainability to guarantee equitable access to energy for all. In a bid to promote knowledge exchange on the Just Transitions, Dare to Share Knowledge Consortium has been created, apart from bringing experts and all other stakeholders together to explore more innovative ways of achieving the goals of transition. There's more in the following report.
Dare to Share Knowledge Consortium is a new platform offering a space for evidence and perspectives on just transitions, bringing together diverse stakeholders, including policymakers and civil society representatives. Resident Coordinator of the United Nations in Ghana, Charles Abani, says a comprehensive and an inclusive approach is needed to achieve a lower carbon future.
And so actually this platform is really important to understand all the dynamic moving parts that will enable Ghana to achieve this. The UN itself has identified from that conversation 6 important transitions that must be achieved if we're to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. None of these can sit in a silo. And in fact, I guess the wealth of what's being done here is the ability to connect all those different pieces together. Because in Africa here, the USG for Africa stated very clearly that unless we fix the energy crisis on the continent, we're trapped. And so really, to achieve a more sustainable low-carbon future, which is the concept of just transitions, and to guarantee equitable access to energy for all.
In partnership with the Utrecht University, the United Nations University Institute for Natural Resources in Africa has created a platform that aims to challenge dominant narratives on just transition. Dr. Fatima Denton is director of the United Nations University Institute for Natural Resources in Africa.
Well, the conversation on just transitions has gone global, but I feel that we haven't had sufficient time and opportunity to have our own sort of conversation in Africa to really start unpacking the words just transition, because it's quite loaded. It's also somewhat contested. And the opportunity to come here to Africa, or to really bring conversation to African researchers, African policymakers, and ask what a just transition is, what it should be, what it should look like, how it can attempt to address some of the past wrongs. I think it's essential. It's essential because this is a continent that is going to be faced with a lot of the challenges related to climate change.
While giving assurances of pursuing its nationally determined contribution, Ghana's Ministry of Energy says there will be a need to educate the public on just transitions. Dr. Robert Sogbaji is Deputy Director, Nuclear and Alternative Energy at the Ministry of Energy.
We have to let the people know why we are transitioning. So when you're able to explain to them, for them to understand why their cows cannot graze at this time, or the grazing period has changed, flooding is happening, and then we need to do this, and they buy into it, then that partnership with your people is there. So whatever you bring in, do accept it.
Centered on the intersection of political economy and political ecology, the platform also aims to view just transitions from the perspective of particular climate vulnerable sectors. This stakeholders describe as necessary in guaranteeing equitable access to energy.
The word just and the word transition is just moving from changing your dynamics or the way you behave to a way whereby it's going to be more sustainable. For it to be just, then everybody needs to be involved.
So when I think about just transitions, and I really am happy to be part of this meeting, what interests me most is looking at justice, and justice from the lens of the context, the different contexts we are operating in. My background being education, I look at this in terms of how do we prepare, or how do we include learners or young people in the process of the conversations around transition.
Now, cocoa farmers in gold-producing areas are lamenting the gradual encroachment of their plantations by illegal miners. Some farmers have already surrendered their farmlands for illegal mining activities. Certified Cocoa Farmers Organization, Kwawu Cocoa Cooperative, Cocoa Farmers and Marketing Union finds the situation disturbing, as cocoa is the main cash crop of the economy. Here's more in this report.
The uncompetitive cocoa prices on the international market are reflecting in the pockets of ordinary cocoa farmers in Ghana. As a result, cocoa farmers and landowners are giving away their lands to miners for money. This is a huge threat to the cocoa sector. Executive Secretary of Kwawu Cocoa, Solomon Boatin, fears the industry may suffer if nothing is done within the next 5 years.
It is a huge threat to cocoa industry. It's not just an individual effort that can stop galamsey. I think it should be a collective led by the government. And I think they should walk the talk and ensure that if they want to stop galamsey, they stop it. That's like we are just saying it, but the commitment is real. If they don't do it in the next 5-10 years, cocoa industry is going to suffer.
To increase yield and productivity and provide a unified front for cocoa farmers, Kwawu Cocoa has elected James Ajekum-Kwaten as its new president. At the 29th Annual Delegates Congress, the cocoa farmers endorsed him and other executives to lead the association for a 5-year term. Mr. Ajekum, who had 276 votes, representing 97%, promised a unified front to improve the well-being of farmers.
So
I'm taking this opportunity to bring on board all those farmers who at the beginning were at different party to join us so that we can build our union to help improve the livelihood of our farmers. So I'm calling everybody on board to join us. We are not going to discriminate. We want everybody to be part of us. All the farmers, all the management. There is no time for discrimination.
Managing Director of Kuyapa Cocoa, Emmanuel Kwabena Arthur, is recommending a reconciliation committee to reconcile all cocoa farmers under the Kuyapa Cocoa fold. He says the platform will embrace all farmers to air grievances.
We have advised the new Executive Council members to set up a reconciliation committee so that anyone who has any grievance or who is aggrieved by whatever means would be able to express his or her view or opinion or concerns at the committee.
And that's the marketplace. Thanks for watching, everyone. There's more news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. We're leaving you with our Money Lab episode for today.
Hello, welcome to Money Lab. My name is Kofi Poli, Chief Operations Officer of People's Pension Trusts. Still, we are on our pension tidbits on Money Lab. In our previous episode, we talked about the relevance of a pension plan. Today, we are going to look at the pension architecture in Ghana under Pension Act 2008, Act 766. Under this act, we are supposed to have a 3-tier pension scheme. Tier 1 is the basic national pension scheme, which is handled by the statutory body of Ghana for pensions, that is SNIT, Social Security and National Insurance Trust. Under this act, it says that wherever there is an employer-employee relationship, the employer will deduct 5.5% of the employee's salary and add 13% to the employee's salary. So we have 18.5%. Out of this 18.5%, 13.5% will pay to SNIT for the basic national pension scheme, which is mandatory. Thank you once again for being with us, and in our next episodes, we will look at Tier 2 and Tier 3.